she has been described, hasn't she, as a cool-headed centrist in a world that's increasingly dominated by populists and strongmen. Will Germans miss Merkel's brand of politics?
Polls suggest they do. She's still riding. I mean, it's a parliamentary democracy, so she isn't elected by universal suffrage. She polls around 70%, which after the amount of time she's been in office should be the envy of really any other Western leader. It's a pretty incredible level of popularity. I'm not sure she's really had a brand, and here's why. She's known for adopting the ideas of other parties, wherever they come from, depending on their utility. So she's taken the idea of the minimum wage, for instance, from the Social Democrats. She's taken the idea of the energy U-turn and abandoning nuclear power from the Greens. She's gone against her own party's conservative wing in getting same-sex marriage approved. So if she doesn't have a brand, I'd say she has a style for sure, and that is what pleases people. There's even a verb in German, zu merkeln, to Merkel through things, which was initially pejorative, and it sort of meant taking decisions at the last minute, but I think it also has a sort of methodical connotation. That is what people really, really appreciate in her. Essentially that, not so much a brand, but more of a style. I think that's why she's so popular.
And of course, Nick, a lot of young Germans will have never known anything other than Angela Merkel. When people look back at her time in power, what would you say have been her main achievements, and what will be seen as her biggest policy mistakes?
There's a lot of firsts. First head of the female head of the Christian Democratic Union, first female chancellor of Germany in the time she's been in office, sovereign debt crisis, saving Europe from financial and economic implosion with 3 bailouts voted through the German parliament to help the countries largely of southern Europe. I think she'll also be remembered for the refugee crisis, for opening Germany's arms to 1 million+ refugees from Syria and Iraq in 2015, and also for managing the coronavirus crisis very well compared to other European countries. So things are worsening here to a certain extent. Of course, as in any case in politics, when you make one decision, there are negative consequences, and many people will say, well, look, you welcomed all the refugees. That also helped the rise of the far right in Germany, the anti-immigrant sentiment in this country. And those austerity measures that came with those bailout packages really hurt the economies and the peoples of Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain. So I think that's overall, the balance sheet, we can say, for what she's done. Largely positive. She's recognized as a leader in Western countries in the G7 who is older and perhaps wiser than many of her younger peers.
And pretty daunting, Nick, for whoever succeeds Angela Merkel. Who will be able to fill her big shoes?
Very, very big shoes indeed. Well, somebody already did try to fill it, Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, who was her chosen successor, another woman, and she was unable to hold on to the reins of the party partly because it was said she wasn't able to be chancellor and party leader at the same time as Merkel had done. And there was a bit of a rebellion by some local party officials who passed an alliance with the far right, and that led to her downfall. So there isn't actually a leader of the party, and they were planning to have a Congress. It's been postponed twice. They need to vote on a successor as possible chancellor replacement in person. Now, the leading candidates are Friedrich Merz, who is a fiscal conservative, Norbert Röttgen, who's the head of the Parliamentary Affairs Committee, and then there's the Premier, Armin Laschet of North Rhine-Westphalia. All of them, are competent politicians. I've met a couple of them and interviewed them, but nobody's really of Merkel's stature. One outsider is the regional Premier of Bavaria, Markus Söder, who is with the sister wing, the Bavarian Christian Social Union, which is allied with the Christian Democratic Union, who has really been able to shine because of his handling of the coronavirus on a national level. So he would be a kind of a dark horse in this race. At present, he looks like maybe he's the best placed, but it's really early days. And as you said, those shoes are just enormous. It's hard to see really anybody filling them with her stature and able to manage crises the way she has done.
Nick, thank you very much indeed.